What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about 9 franchises that I think Astrobot missed. Now, these have a chance, I guess, potentially at being in the game eventually. You know, we know DLC is coming. We talked in yesterday's video about potential DLC bots that has already kind of been mentioned, like Assassin's Creed and Stellar Blade and things like that. With that being said, because of Stellar Blade and because of Rise of the Ronin, seemingly more likely than others, they're not going to appear on this list. Before I get too far in, I, of course, again, want to thank PlayStation for the review code for the game. So, again, Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin don't count. I want to take a look specifically first at, there was, I believe, leaked concept art that went over a few franchises that are actually already on my list, and those 3 are Twisted Metal, Fat Princess, and Helldivers. Now, all 3 of these are actually in the concept art, and Twisted Metal specifically is Sweet Tooth, as if any other character, would have appeared. Honestly, of these 3, I am pretty surprised that Sweet Tooth did not make it. Helldivers, much like we talked about yesterday with Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin, while Helldivers 1 was kind of a somewhat PlayStation thing too, and that was years and years and years ago, it didn't really pick up, obviously, till Helldivers 2. So much like Stellar Blade, which kind of caught fire, just in the first half of this year, I imagine there just wasn't enough time to do something with like a Helldiver, right? I think if this game came out this time next year, you would have seen that. Sweet Tooth, though, is kind of surprising. You had the show that was massively successful. Twisted Metal, if you go back to the origins of Twisted Metal, also Twisted Metal on PS3, right? Like, that one's an odd one to me. So that I really, and maybe of this entire list, I mean, there's definitely ones maybe a little bit higher than Sweet Tooth, but he's towards the top. He's somebody I really would like to see on it. And even Fat Princess, Fat Princess is one that I don't think I immediately think to. I don't think a lot of people think to, but I remember really liking Fat Princess, PS3, at least for me, PS3 era, and I had a blast with those games. So yeah, I would like to see that represented as well. Okay, now breaking off from those, and hey, look, those ones might be more likely than any of these other ones, right? Because those 3 in particular were in the, again, like the leaked concept art or just the concept art in general. So they're already kind of thinking about it. I think it's a little bit different than everything else we're going to say. Let's go over 2 that I think are just not going to happen, but they are franchises that I believe Astrobot literally missed, right? Final Fantasy as well as Kingdom Hearts. So there's 2, big Square Enix titles. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that it's possible Square Enix literally told them no. And pretty much the line of thinking here is they are so iconic. You think of Cloud, you think the Buster Sword, is in Astro's Playroom. Why is Aerith, Tifa, Cloud, none of them in this game? And then you think the Kingdom Hearts. And Kingdom Hearts is a little bit more tricky, right? Because when you have Disney involved, that's a lot harder. But you still have like Sora, Riku, and Kairi, right? You could go non-Disney and more Tetsuya Nomura and more Square Enix itself. So that one's kind of interesting, but I don't know. I mean, you have Sora with like Smash Bros, and that took like a decade plus to happen. And, the behind-the-scenes story ended up being that Tetsuya Nomura was the one that kept saying no to it. He didn't want, it wasn't even a Disney decision. Tetsuya Nomura is the one that didn't really want Sora in Smash Bros until basically the very end. So it's pretty, I would say it's kind of likely, and also because of him and with Final Fantasy. Look, I love the guy, but I am going to put a little bit of the blame potentially on him. I got to imagine that if PlayStation or if Asobi is asking, they're probably asking him or people around him, and the answer is it a no. They were told, Asobi was told no for a handful of characters. They did say that. So there were characters that were literally shot down. And I just think of the iconicness of specifically probably Cloud, right? And for that to not happen, I feel like it's speculation, it's conspiracy theory, but I feel like that's more on Square Enix saying no than Asobi just not doing it. But I would have paid a lot of money to see a Sora, Riku, Kairi, bot. I think those there's already people that have done like the kind of concepts, concept work of them online, and they look so freaking cool. So I would really like to see it. But those are 2 big franchises. PlayStation really helped them. They really helped PlayStation. And, as time has gone on, especially Kingdom Hearts, it's ventured off into, a legitimate third-party thing, comes out on Xbox as well. But they did originate, originally on PlayStation. Okay, let's go with another one that I feel like is probably because of rights, and again, less so because because of like they didn't ask or anything. Spider-Man. This was one that I gotta be honest, like as I'm going through the game, right, I'm kind of keeping track in my head and I'm thinking, oh, where's this franchise? Where's that franchise? And the Square Enix stuff kind of blew up online, so I was thinking that. And as the game was going, maybe halfway through the game, I was thinking, wait a second, there's no Spider-Man in this thing. And then you beat the game, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. It's like, yeah, Spider-Man, Miles, none of these characters are in the game. And again, I gotta feel this is because of some sort of rights thing, maybe some Sony Marvel type, contractual thing. I don't know how it works. I don't even know if there is an actual contract in place where there's something happening there. But I don't know, because of the Insomniac Spider-Man thing, I guess it is possible, right? Maybe you have to pay some sort of like contract fee, and there's no way, you're not going to pay like a licensing fee to have Spider-Man in it for 30 seconds. But he is a really big character, and you think of really the last, 6 years, go back to Spider-Man 2018. You go back to that game, and like the last half decade, a little bit more than half a decade, Spider-Man's really helped PlayStation, like specifically selling PS4, specifically selling PS5s. And so again, for it to not be there, I think that's a big one. Okay, I want to end this on 3 other ones, right, to kind of complete my list. 3 other ones that I actually just don't get, right? These are ones that don't have excuses. These are ones that are not concept art, and these are ones that I feel like wouldn't be, into a contractual, argument type thing. So I got 3. Heavy Rain, the Resistance franchise, and Heavenly Sword. Let me start with Heavenly Sword just for a second, because Heavenly Sword is a forgotten game. It's a forgotten, I don't know if I want to call it franchise, because it only had the one game, right? But Ninja Theory and, jumping ship as they did, maybe that's something, right? But I believe PlayStation has the rights to Heavenly Sword, so I don't think you'd have to go to like an Xbox. And even if you did have to go to an Xbox, they said okay for Crash and Spyro, right? So it's like you can't use that excuse. But I don't know. This could just be one that I think, a 2007, 2008 title. Like, it came out. I liked it. I believe I have it physically nowadays. I picked it up. And I think it's a solid game, but it's one that, it came and went. There's nothing too special about it. It's kind of a relic of the time. And that's probably my best excuse. It's got to be, why something like that wasn't included. Heavy Rain is an interesting one, because Heavy Rain, I think, was not only a trophy, but also prominent in Astro's Playroom. Like, it was in there. So I think it was like the actual origami like thing. So this one is one that they had, and then now they don't have it anymore, right? So I don't get this one at all. I don't know if Quantic Dream said no, but when you think of Heavy Rain, you think of PlayStation. At least I do. Again, as PlayStation was building up in the PS3 generation, there was a lot of hits, right? You got, and even smaller ones like a Puppeteer type thing, which, by the way, that's in this game. Puppeteer is in this game, but a thing like Heavy Rain isn't. So that one just baffles me. The biggest one, and this is honestly the one I think I'd have over anything, I mentioned that earlier with Twisted Metal, is Resistance. Resistance, like, now look, the characters aren't maybe the most memorable, and if you put that, but I don't know, they had deep cuts, so I don't even want to use that as an excuse, right? There's some deep cuts in Astro Bot. So you have the characters, but the bigger one is, and this is what they did with Killzone, by the way, just do like Killzone did the Hellgas, just do the Chimera. Like, that's all, you just literally make a Chimera bot. And I mean, they made 3 Hellgas soldiers in Astro Bot. They had multiple apes from Apis. I mean, the only thing that upsets me just a little bit, because I think Astro Bot is like almost like a 9.99 out of 10 type game. The only thing that upsets me is you have Resistance missing, you have Heavenly Sword, you have things like this missing, and then you got 3 or 4 characters sometimes from like a Hellgas soldier. You could have just had one. You could have one Chimera, right? You don't need 5, you don't need 13, something like that. So I don't know. That's something that Resistance is one. I think it was a big enough franchise, spawned multiple, it got a trilogy, then it also got more games, handheld-wise. It never really sold, like, that is true, and, it was kind of abandoned, and, they went to work on Sunset Overdrive for Xbox, came back for Spider-Man. Like, it's got a fun little history of how Resistance kind of, put them on the path to other things, but it was a big enough franchise. I believe Resistance 1 was a launch title for PS3, so, we're talking about an okay-sized franchise. franchise. And this is the one that was the most shocking to me, that as I went through the whole game, I think there is a reference to Resistance 1. There's like a shot people are doing of like a skull on the ground that's like almost a frame-by-frame thing like Resistance 1, but no bot. So I would like to see these things fixed. Again, some of them I think are 0% chance you're not getting Final Fantasy, you're not getting Kingdom Hearts, but hey, if you give me like 10 bots through DLC, I hope 1 or 2 of these could pop up. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think of my list. Is there any other franchise or characters that you think should have been, and for whatever reason were not, in Astrobot? Let me know in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.